Hi there, I'm Shivani. I'm the host of the Passion Institute podcast. I'm really excited about our guest today. I have come across Heidi Denning for many, many years, and it was so nice to be able to reconnect with her through some of the common work that we do, even though we talk about very different things, and a common colleague that connected us back.
Yeah.
Heidi's CV is super long. She has got a lot of experience in a lot of different places, and she mainly speaks about resilience, but she doesn't just talk about it, she's lived it. She survived petrol bombs, she's earthquakes, overcoming paralysis and business burnout. And so she's not just not talking about in theory or something that comes through the book. This is lived in experience that she shares. She has presented to a lot of different companies around the world, including Coca-Cola and the Million Dollar Roundtable, which was to over 6,500 people. And a keynote in the work that she does is really around how to support organizations, how to make a difference, and make sure that people work on themselves and their resilience. Heidi, welcome.
Thank you, Shivani. It's great to be on your podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited. And tell me, I spend a lot of time talking about passion and purpose for different people, our audience,
Mm.
leaders and entrepreneurs. Tell me a little bit about, this word, what this word passion means to you. And obviously, I want to know what this word resilience means to you too, because it's such an intrinsic part of who you are.
Yeah, it really is. And, really, to me, passion and resilience go hand in hand because what I've learned is that without resilience, passion will burn out pretty quickly. And of course, without passion, resilience feels like endurance. So they really need to be there together for both to work well. And I'm a great believer that, our passion is what fuels our purpose in our life, in our business world, in our personal life. And that's all around being aligned, to who we are, what we believe, and what we're doing. When we've got those three things in alignment, then we're in the right direction to fulfilling our purpose and heading towards that what fills us up and makes us feel fabulous, which is all of that fire within us that passion lights us up, right? It just lights us up when we're doing something where we are passionate about. So, uh, you know, I suppose the last part of that kind of passion piece is I always think about it's those quiet moments that the determination for us to keep going on towards that path that takes us forward towards what we're passionate about that really count. It's not the big, loud, heroic ones. It's about turning up again and again, even when things are hard, even when we've got so many challenges knocking us to our knees, when we've got change happening at the speed of light, like we do in business and the world right now. Being able to continue to take that step forward and move forward towards what we're passionate about. It's one of the greatest skills that we can have right now. I've got this great little thing on my office wall, right in, like above my computer here, and it's dot, then dat, DOT, then DAT. Do one thing, then do another thing.
Oh,
And I
wow.
feel like when we're feeling overwhelmed by all the change and challenges that we're experiencing at the moment in our organizations, you can just feel that paralysis hit you. I don't know what to do. What on earth can I do to make this better or make it move forward? Well, just do one thing,
Mm.
then do another thing.
Mm. I love that. So much gold in what you just said too. Now, when I started speaking about your bio, Heidi, there's been a lot that you've endured, and that's just some of the stuff in the bio. I'm sure that the list is a lot deeper than that. And so my next question is really about a couple of those. Maybe there's a key one. There was this moment where the challenge was so big, but through that you were able to transform. So I'm really curious about if you could take us through a moment like that and what that challenge was, whether it was in the bio, whether it's something else that I haven't spoken about yet about you, How did you overcome it, and what was the transformation piece for you in that?
Yes, there's been a few. My girlfriends refuse to travel with me now because I seem to attract some natural disasters around me every time I go somewhere. But I suppose the hardest one, and I say the hardest one, but also the one that has fueled my passion and purpose and direction since then. So that it has been what I say has turned my post-traumatic stress into post-traumatic wisdom and allowed me to do what I do today. Is years ago, I had an education not-for-profit in the Pacific, and we did girls' empowerment programs for teenage girls who don't usually get opportunities. And we also had literacy programs in primary schools. So the whole idea was, to me, literacy, changes lives, and we wanted to help together with the communities, help the next generation to give them opportunities that they perhaps wouldn't have got if they didn't build their literacy skills. And yeah, we did many things around that, and one of them was we collaborated with an entire community to build a small library in a primary school on a remote island in the Pacific. And we had the entire community involved. It took us 3 years. My husband, who is a builder, he's like, let me bring the boys over. We'll have it done in a few weeks. But we know that unless a whole community, unless all of us are involved with what we're doing, we don't feel that pride and ownership we need at the end. And it doesn't matter if you're building a library or if you're on a project at work, having that collaboration of everyone involved is what really makes sure that we have a great result where people feel proud. And we had, a 70-year-old elder who handmade the 3,000 bricks for the walls, and mamas who shoveled the coral on the beach to make the concrete slab. Everyone was there and a part of it. And, we finally got the opening done, but only months after this place had a catastrophic cyclone and our library was flattened. So we very quickly had to recalibrate what our purpose was, which was about literacy. But first we had to adapt, like we have to do all the time at work when our plans get derailed. And first there was raising enough money for food, water, shelter. That was the main goal. And then we could start the rebuild with the remainder money. But unfortunately, on our first volunteer trip back, when I was leading a team one night when we were sleeping soundly and proudly after a hard day's work, we'd got caught up in some local cultural conflict that had nothing to do with us, but we were the targets, and petrol bombs were thrown at our bedrooms, our bungalows, as we were sleeping, with the intention to burn us all alive as we slept. So as you can imagine, Shivani, that's been a pretty big moment. Having petrol bombs thrown at you. But what I've learned from that night has been many things. First of all, we all have petrol bomb moments. They come in all shapes and sizes. That might be grief, divorce, loss, injury, mergers and acquisitions, redundancies, 13 interest rate rises. All of these are petrol bomb moments that can change the course of our lives. And that one certainly did. And although I suffered terribly with physical and emotional injuries, what we know is that when we go through really tough times, we can either halt and be in that spot for a long time, or we can learn and grow and move forward. And what that taught me, that terrible, terrible time where I lost so much of me, professionally, personally, physically, financially, everything, emotionally. It taught me so much about learning and growing through tough times and what we need to do to prepare ourselves better for those unexpected challenges that we can never see coming, those ones that knock us to our knees and we have to fight really hard to get back up again. What can we do to prepare ourselves better for those ones that we can't control? And then what are the choices we can make so we can continue to move towards the profession or the life that we want to design for ourselves. And those learnings have really guided what I do from stage at conferences, and also when I work with leaders and teams, because we all have petrol bomb moments. We really do.
Petrol bomb moments, huh? Even though, yeah, that's incredible. There's so much wisdom in that. The other thing I just loved what you said is, this was the moment that I had my post-trauma, um, uh, trauma, traumatic into wisdom, traumatic wisdom. And I just thought that that was a beautiful
Yes.
way of
Traumatic
kind
stress into post-traumatic wisdom.
of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
So just that stress into wisdom is a beautiful way of kind of putting that in. If I switch
Mm,
gears for a moment, Heidi, when we're working with organisations and you're working with organisations, everybody wants people that are passionate. Everybody wants people that are resilient. So they want to
yeah.
have people, particularly as you stated earlier, the amount of change that we've all experienced, but now we're going to continue to grow at an exponential rate with everything AI
Yes.
that's coming at us. And so, have you got a couple of tips? You might have hundreds of them, but what are a couple of your tips to the people listening in to really focus on what can people focus on with people so that they can stay resilient, so that they can stay passionate through this very, very
Mm.
fast changing times? What would be those couple of things?
Yeah, there are so many things, of course, and it does depend on each organisation and what their specific challenges are about what the recipe for success would be, of course. But I mean, one thing I believe, no matter who you are and what you do and what your challenges are as a leader, if you haven't built good connection with your people before those petrol bomb moments, before the challenges, before the constant change that is coming on, if you haven't done the work beforehand, it's really hard to come together in the middle of chaos and try to connect and understand each other and be able to lean on each other and know that you can trust in each other. If you've not done the work when the times are good, whew, it's pretty hard when times are tough. And I just am such a believer that that kind of connection piece that leaders must do day in, day out, even when their to-do lists are long and their inboxes are full, it will set them up for success when the chaos hits. And we know it will definitely hit.
Mm, And that some of that work needs to be pre-done. You've had a
Yeah.
bunch of challenges we've already spoken about, Heidi, so far. Do you have, like, when challenges come your way, whether they're petrol bombs, whether they're earthquakes, whether they're small challenges, how do you go about dealing with them? Like, do you have a process or a ritual, or how do you kind of attack them? I'm always curious to find out, how do people deal with the challenges? Because often as leaders and entrepreneurs, we get challenges thrown at us, sometimes dozens of them in a day, let alone, in our leadership roles. And so how do you go about dealing with them? How do you break them down?
Yeah. The first thing I do, but it's done daily, is that I'm prepared for them. Well, you're never prepared for like really big petrol bomb moments, but you can do what you can to make sure that what I say, that we're professionally resilient enough for the unexpected. And I do talk about when I'm talking about this topic, to me there is a distinction between resilience and professional resilience. I think resilience just generally is about being able to cope with and get through things that happen to us. But I feel like professional resilience within the fast pace that we've got now in organisations, and being able to deal with the pressure and the overwhelm and the constant change and challenge, is a different level altogether. So I just wanted to kind of say that. But we do need to do what's right for all of us to make sure that our resilience is high enough, ready for those moments to happen, because they will happen. That's number one. So I have my own things that work for me around stillness and joy and connection and taking time out and exercising, like all the things that keep me together. And I feel like sometimes I need a lot of things to keep me together and to keep me whole. But that's just my reality. And maybe it's because I've had lots of things, but I know that if I start skipping out on them, I can get a little wobbly. And then if something big happens, I'm not ready for it. So I do that first of all. Secondly, once something has happened, I have a framework that I talk about a lot, and it has come out of these situations. It's called my professional resilience pathway. And it's all about what we do after one of our big petrol bomb moments, a work challenge, whatever that might be. Because immediately after that, we hit a choice point. You know, we can either react, have a knee-jerk reaction that can lead us to kind of this career or life by default, because we're reacting out of fear and fatigue and unknown and overwhelm. Or we can respond with intentional action. And that can lead us to this, what I call our life by design. What distinguishes us being able to respond intentionally or react with a knee-jerk way that kind of takes us down a spiral is what we've done beforehand. When we've built that professional resilience, it makes that choice point moment easier to do the right things to move forward. If we're already wobbly, and I talk about the resilience bucket, we get rusty holes, and we've got the rusty holes get bigger. If we've got big gaping holes in our resilience bucket already, when something hits, it doesn't take much for us to just keep going downwards.
Yeah,
that is very general, but that's kind of a framework that I use for myself. So I've got to keep myself together, first of all, ready for the unexpected. And then I know, right, this is your choice point, Heidi. Who do you want to be next? Who do you want to be next?
Yeah, amazing. And you also started to answer probably what was going to be my next question, Heidi, in terms of what do you do for your wellness? So you started to say, look, I need quite a few pieces together to, to keep me there. But I just wondered maybe even if you could divide them into some of the things you might do physically or emotionally or spiritually or whatever the things are important for you. So tell me a little bit about how do you manage, are these things daily or weekly, or do you do some things yearly? Like what's the cadence of them and what are some of the things you do?
Yes, I love a good Herkel Durkel. I don't know if you know this expression. It's a 200-year Scottish expression. And what it means is staying in bed, doing nothing when you know you've got stuff to do out of bed. But I love to Herkel Durkel. And that has been a great thing for me. I often get up. This is on the weekend, of course. I might even have a shower, but I'll definitely make myself a pot of tea and brekkie, and then I'll go back to bed and read my book or binge a little bit. But a good Herkel Durkel, certainly for me, is something that keeps me feeling all right. I do have a number of things that bring me joy, and I know that joy is a huge part of what keeps me together. So exercising brings me joy. I feel fabulous. I put on the music really loud, and I've got a tiny little pool, and because my body's got a gazillion injuries from lots of different things, I run in a pool, and I just run around a tiny little circle with the music going, and I sing out loud, and I've got the worst singing voice you could ever imagine, but I do that to bring myself joy. I volunteer. That is certainly something else I do that brings me joy. And I love to share food and stories with hubby, family, and girlfriends. So that joy is really important to me. And taking intentional breaks, having something to look forward to, I suppose, is the final piece of that puzzle, well, the short puzzle. Knowing that I've got something coming up for a break, I just love it. I love the planning. I love getting excited about it. I love sharing. I love talking to other people if they've been there. What have they done? What do they recommend? Yeah, that's really wonderful too.
Yeah, amazing. A Herkel Durkel. I haven't heard of that, but next time I hear it, I'm going to say, Heidi Denny, introduce me.
Yeah, I like Turkle Durkle.
You've also achieved so many things already, Heidi. Tell me about future aspirations, future passions. What are some of the things that I don't love always using the bucket list? Some people like the bucket list, others don't. But what are some of the aspirations that you have for the future?
Yes, well, career-wise aspirations are to continue to bring my message of professional resilience to the APAC region. I think, our world is volatile at the moment, and if I can support leaders and their teams to become more professionally resilient so they can deal with the change and challenges that are going on, that is certainly something I aspire to doing. I I have a really. I'm just getting a thing going on, Shivani. Is that affecting our recording?
No.
Sorry to interrupt that. Um, I am also wanting to bring a lot more Pacific wisdom to leadership conversations. I now I'm now located in Vanuatu. So I am surrounded by the beautiful Pacific wisdom, Melanesian wisdom every day. And I just believe that our Western hustle culture has a lot to learn from the beautiful Melanesian culture and the Pacific culture about what's important, and that, when they're living in such uncertainty all the time due to natural disasters, just what they do to keep moving forward is extraordinary. And I think leaders and teams, we have a lot to learn from them. I'm also learning to Zumba at the moment, and I'm pretty unco and I don't remember any of the moves, but I'm enjoying it. It's putting a smile on my face, and it's fun.
Amazing. What a great list. And I did not know that you were based in Vanuatu. I knew that that you loved islands and some of the conversations there. That's amazing. And I think how beautiful to be able to look at those cultures. There's no accidents, right? And how you're going
Yeah.
to be able to integrate that into some of the work that you're doing is amazing.
Mm.
Heidi, what are the best platforms if people want to follow you, find out more about the work that you do around resilience and helping people with that professional resilience through the APAC region? What are the best platforms? Where should people find you?
Look, I love LinkedIn the most. That's where I am. You'll find me on the other socials, but LinkedIn is where I like to hang out. Heidi Denning. So I'd love people to connect with me there. I've also, HeidiDenning.com is my website. And if leaders are looking to, just see how resilient they believe find out how resilient their team is, I do have a team resilience quiz for free online, less than 3 minutes to do, but it would just help leaders understand where their teams are sitting right now, and what the next steps might be. So that's somewhere where they can go.
Incredible. We'll keep chatting, but just wanted to say thank you so much for making the time and for us to be able to tap into some of your wisdom.
It's been a pleasure to be here, Shivani. Thanks so much. Pleasure. Oh, that's